Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Laura Kimball, the podcast editor for Your American Dream. And today's episode is a really special one because the spotlight is on someone you already know and love, our host, Anisha Jennings. For the past few years, Anisha has shared the stories of incredible immigrant women and women of color who've built their own versions of the American dream. But today, it's her turn to share her story, a 10-year journey that began when she arrived in the U.S. on a student visa and led all the way to becoming a proud U.S. citizen this year.
Yes.
From navigating the visa maze to building a business, a family, and a new life here, Anisha's story is one of faith, perseverance, and purpose. So today, I get the honor of flipping the mic and interviewing Anisha about her own American dream. Anisha, welcome to your own show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Yes, I definitely wanted to share my citizenship journey because September 24th, 2025, I became a citizen. And I've had people ask me a lot of questions on, what did the journey look like? What was the process like? And a lot of questions, which I figured I'd just answer through a podcast.
That's wonderful. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's jump right in. So take us back to the beginning. What made you decide to come to the U.S. 10 years ago?
Honestly, I did not decide to come to the US. US was not on my radar at all because back home, I wanted to get in the teaching field because my mom has been a teacher, my uncle has been a professor, and I really enjoy teaching. And as a kid too, I always used to line up my dolls and teach them. I loved the teaching field. So I wanted to go into teaching. I knew that after I graduated from my engineering, started my first job as a teaching assistant and then moved on to become a lecturer and then an assistant professor. I started part-time my first master's part-time, and I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed being with the students, learning. Many courses were first time for me, so it was a big challenge, and it was pretty much like I was learning along with the students, but I was one step ahead of them. So working with them on projects and just exploring the field was very fulfilling to me. Eventually, 6 years later, after being there for about 6 years, I just started feeling very saturated, and I knew that it was time for me to move on. So at that time, I was trying to figure out next steps. And I had seen a lot of students go to the US, start their masters, and go in for their, like after they graduate, go to the US for their masters and all that stuff. It did not really seem appealing to me because I always wanted to live close to my parents. And that was it's always been something that I wanted. And for some reason, it just so happened that I was like, I don't know what else to do. I'm trying to move. I was trying to move within the country, but it didn't seem like I was going to get a head start. It was going to put me back right to where I was. For some reason, I just had this calling of dropping everything and moving to the US. I have no reason why, but now 10 years, looking back, it's definitely God called me to move. And I really feel that God called me here for a purpose, and I'm here for a purpose. So I know I'm away from my parents, but who knows? Things may change. So that's how it started. And then at the time that I was leaving, it wasn't even like a, hey, go crush it, or, go to the US and have fun or study well. No, it was a time where I was 28 years old. I wasn't married. So it was this pressure of, it's not even my parents, but it was like the community surrounding us. Like, oh, your daughter is 28. She's single. She's not married yet. You're going to send her all the way, all alone by herself to another country to start her life. And it was a lot of pressure, concern, worry, fear for everybody. But for some reason, I knew I had to move. And definitely my dad was very supportive, and he was like, couldn't you think of this when I was retired? It would have been so much easier. Now I'm retired and it's so difficult with the finances and all of that, but still they placed the whole house as a collateral, got me a loan, sent me here, and did the best they could in that situation. And when I came here, after I landed here, then it was like, you're still in that situation of, okay, I just landed here. What am I going to do next? And after a couple of days, it hits you. Then now you're like all by yourself. What do I do? And all that freedom. So that was what it looked like 10 years ago and now. And then, the first couple years was definitely a huge struggle, a lot of learning and very challenging. But here we are today.
Here we are, and that's wonderful that you are in the US after a lot of different things that you had to go through to like hoops to jump through basically to get where you are now. So when
Yeah.
you first arrived, like go back to the Anisha 10 years ago, what did the American dream mean to you then?
It was scary. Honestly, it was scary. I didn't know what to make of it because most of what you see is in the on the TV, right? Like if you're in another country and you look at the Western world, it's more whatever you look at it through the movies, or you have some relatives over there and they'll tell you what it is like, but it looks different for everybody. Definitely it looks like, all like they say, the grass is greener on the other side. It looks like glitter and gold from the other side. But only when you come here and you realize, it's not all that, but there's a lot more to it. There's definitely freedom to, there's a lot of freedom in the sense that you can explore opportunities. There's a lot of freedom for, you can work in whatever job you want, right? As long as you're working hard and doing the right thing. They don't call it a land, they don't call the US land of opportunities for no reason, right? So at that time, it definitely looked like, freedom, opportunities. And of course, I was scared. But it was more like, I just got to get to the next step. It was more just looking at the next step. It wasn't like I was looking at the entire American dream as a whole, because in my mind, I was not there to stay. I had come here to get my degree and I was going to go back. That was my plan. That I was going to come here, get my master's degree and then go back and live close to my parents, go back to the teaching job that I was in or find something else but live close to my parents. So that was my original dream, but obviously things changed and since then it's been made clear to me by God that here is where my life is.
So after graduating, you transitioned to OPT. For those who may not know, what is OPT and what was that stage like for you?
Yeah. So before I start answering questions on my visa and my journey, I just want to say that this journey that I'm talking about is purely my journey and what I went through and how I came in and what steps I did for my citizenship. I'm not a lawyer, so if you need any advice, please consult a lawyer. We do have an episode with a lawyer that will be linked in the show notes. And there are different ways that you come into the country, but mine it has been it's been different, so I will explain my journey. It doesn't mean that it holds for everyone, and everybody has their own struggles, own journeys. I'm not here to belittle anybody's journey or say that this path or that path is right. I'm just here to share my experience for awareness, so I just wanted to have that little disclaimer there. So I came in on an F1 visa, which is a student visa, and most students who come to the US come on an F1 visa. And if you are in the STEM major, then once you graduate, you get 3 years, I believe 3 years, 2 or 3 years of OPT, which is optional practical training, which means after you graduate, you get a job and then you're on OPT for that duration. And then during that duration, your company can apply or sponsor for your H1 visa. H1 visa is a work permit and H1B, and then your company applies for your visa, which is basically the company saying this person has the necessary skill set to be in this job and that's why we want to hire them. And so it is a lottery based system and your company applies for it and then you get picked. Initially, the process is you get picked, whether you get picked or not. That is the first step. So if you get picked, then you go to the next step, which is approval or rejection. But if you don't get picked itself, then, you have to wait and reapply again. So for once I was done, then I had the OPT. And then I got my job in New Jersey and they applied for my H1 visa. So the first time that they applied, so you get three attempts to apply. And if you don't get picked in either of the three attempts, then you got to go back. And the first time they applied for my H1B, I didn't get picked. And then so that was in 2019 and I was engaged by 2020 and then I had another chance of applying for the H1B. So since I was already engaged and my now husband, he's a US citizen, it only made sense for us to apply the green card. So we did both. My company applied for the H1B and we applied for the green card as well. So in 2020 January, we got engaged and then we decided since we're going to get married, we can start the green card process as well. So 2020 we got married 2020 August. 2020 October, I applied for my green card because it was like I had one more chance remaining. And if I didn't get picked or didn't get the visa, I was going to go back. And since I was already engaged, we were going to be married, it didn't make sense to just, go through all those hoops of not maintaining your status. You always want to be in some sort of legal status between your applications. And if you're in the middle of your process, you are in that status that you can stay in the country, but you cannot travel. So you got to make sure you're following all the rules, not. And if you do have to travel for an emergency, you can apply for different forms and letters and things like that. 2020 of October, we applied for the green card. My application process, the documents I had, I made it so thorough. It was like this big. The amount of paperwork I had was this big because you want to make sure you're telling them that it is you're legally married. You are married for marriage. You're not doing this just to get your green card or just to become a citizen. So you want to show as much proof as you can. So that is one thing I would suggest is when you are applying, even though they don't ask you for a lot of things, the more proof you can provide, it makes your application process very, very smooth. So since I moved here to New Jersey, I know I'm giving you a long-winded answer, but since I moved to New Jersey, I found a church family. We were very involved in the church. I was very involved till we got engaged and Joe moved here. And then we were both very involved. So we would get a lot of greeting cards. Like we got a lot of cards for our engagement. We got a lot of cards for our wedding. We would get a lot of, gifts and checks and all that stuff. I saved up all of that. So I scanned literally all of them, which had both our names on it, and I added it to the paperwork. The moment we got married, we put everything in joint, like our utilities, our car insurance, whatever we could make joint, we made joint. And then the bank accounts. So we made sure to have a joint account in the bank so that the transactions, and then we were putting money in there from both our individual accounts to show that that account is active. So basically just following the rules and doing everything straight. So I think that helped a lot with my paperwork. And I know that we did use a lawyer for the green card, and she was like, "You're like my one student, and I wish everybody submitted paperwork like this." So that was the process. And once I applied for the green card, it took a year, and we did have like a couple issues, like my application came back or something like that because the check was made wrong or something like that. So that delayed the process. But eventually, October 2021, I did receive my green card. My interview process was super simple. We went there. So for the green card, also you have an interview. For the interview, Joe and I had to be present. So we went there. We were done in 5 minutes. They just we went in there, they looked at our paperwork and they're like, we wish everybody submitted this level of paperwork. It makes our job so easy. And they just asked us a couple questions on how we met and, if we live together, just basic questions. And we were done in 5 minutes. So that was my green card process.
Sounds like your thoroughness really paid off in the end. So,
Absolutely.
what was going through your mind during all this period, and what were your biggest lessons that you learned?
So number one, when I was applying for the H-1B, it was when my company was applying for my H-1B. Let me back up to my job. The job itself was a huge thing because it was like a miracle because I wasn't able to get a job and I decided to go back to India for good before my visa expired because I did not want to be on an illegal status here. And I just wanted to, go back if that was what it meant. It took me a while to find a job, and once I found the job, it was like that was again. I talk about this in a little book that I'm creating, but it wasn't like I said the job that I got just by applying here and there, which I used to. I used to apply at least 25 and 50 jobs a day while I was looking. And then eventually I got the job through networking. My mom's friend, she spoke to the boss and then she, got me an interview and that changed everything. So then I ended up moving from Massachusetts to New Jersey for the job. So that was a huge step, number one, to get that job. And then they were applying for my H-1B. When I didn't get picked, I was like, okay, what's next? I just don't know what's next. I do have another attempt. So what do I do? So I had kind of started preparing for like, what do I do next? How do I go about this? But in the meantime, Joe and I had met, we got engaged. And then it was like, okay, do I use this process? Do I wait for the H1? Do I wait till after we get married? Because the other thing about applying for green card on marriage is that if you do apply for your green card right away after you get married, you only get a conditional green card, which means it's
Mm.
applicable for only 2 years. But after 2 years, you have to apply again to remove the conditions on your green card, which means they want to know that you've stayed married for 2 years, you are still married, and then they will remove it. So now the challenge is, do you want to apply? Do you want to stay married for 3 years and then apply for a green card, which gives you like a 10 years green card? Or you apply and then get your conditional green card and then reapply again to remove conditions, so on and so forth. So for me, that was what was going on. It was pretty stressful because during this time, now I'm working on figuring out my next path, whether I'm going to apply for the green card, H1B visa. We're getting married during COVID. This is all happening during COVID. So as it is, everybody is stressed. We don't know what the paperwork, the deadlines, the timelines, what it looks like. So it was super, super stressful. But I guess just holding on to faith and knowing that if God brought me here, there is a purpose, He will see me through it. And if it's not meant to be, then I have a place to go back to. I have my home. I have my country I can go back to. So it wasn't something that I was really terrified about. It was just about, just like anything else in life, what is next steps? What do I do next? Sort of situation. And we prayed through it all. Like Joe and I would pray through everything. And I definitely prayed a lot for direction, wisdom, and what to do in the next steps. So that was what we went through.
So you became eligible for citizenship in October 2024,
Yeah.
but you decided to wait so you could go back to India. Why was that trip so important for you?
Yeah. So once I went to India last in 2018 of January, I came back. So 2017 December, 2018 Jan. And then because I was on my OPT, it was probably on my OPT that I could stay in the country, but I couldn't travel. So I didn't end up going back. Then we had COVID. We had the wedding. So we literally streamed our wedding live for everybody in India. And we were just like 20 people at the wedding. My parents couldn't even make it to the wedding because it was COVID, right? So COVID, we didn't travel. And then 2021, my parents ended up coming here. So we didn't travel. 2022, I got pregnant. So we didn't travel again. 2023, we had a newborn. So we didn't travel again. But what happened was after 2021 October that I got my green card, in 2023 October, I had to apply again to remove my conditions on my green card. So I had to submit paperwork, which was again like this big pile of paperwork that I submitted. And that was going on in the background. And I had, it was like, it's in process, whatever. Still got my extension for 4 years on the green card. So I could use that letter to travel or whatnot. And then 2024 October was 3 years that I was already on the green card. So if you're married to a US citizen, then after 3 years of being on the green card, you are eligible to apply for citizenship. So just because you're married, I get this question a lot. You're married to a citizen, doesn't that make you a citizen? No, it doesn't. Even though you're married to a citizen, there's a lot of paperwork. You have to go through a process and you're on the green card for 3 years and then you become eligible to apply for citizenship. If you're married to another green card person, then you have to be on the green card for 5 years before you become eligible to apply for citizenship. Now, October 2024 is when I became eligible to apply for citizenship. Now, in November, we were having the elections. I figured I'm just going to wait because it was a time of like, there's so much chaos going on during elections. I didn't want my paperwork getting lost or anything like that. I wasn't worried about the administration either way. It's more like if you have your paperwork straight, everything is going to be fine. And we hadn't gone back to India for almost 7 years at that point. So I was like, we do have to make a trip. People have not met Joe in person or seen our boy. So I either wait, like I apply for my citizenship, and I don't know how long that process is going to take. And that'll delay me another year going back to India. So we made the decision to go back and then visit family. And when we come back, because you can be on a green card, you're not required to be a citizen. But it's just like, if you're on the green card, you still cannot vote. So it's like people are on the green card for different reasons because India does not allow dual citizenship. So either way, you're like, one or the other way, you gotta pick. And so some people have different reasons for either being a green card holder or switching to becoming a citizen. So I knew for sure that I did want to go through and apply for citizenship because I wanted to vote. It's been 10 years that I haven't been able to vote in either country, whether back home in India or in the US. And that was my main thing. Like, I wanted to belong somewhere, not be in between, right? Like, I belonged to India, but didn't live there. I lived here, but did not belong here. I mean, like, officially on paper. So that's something I definitely knew I was going to do, but it was just a matter of time. And so it was very important for me to go see the family because we hadn't gone home. Like, I hadn't gone home since I was married. So I just wanted to make that trip, visit family, spend time, and have everybody meet Joe, Jaden, and, and then from there, then think about my next steps.
Of course. Wow. So once you returned from India, you applied for your citizenship. Can you walk us through that process? Like, how long did it take and what were the key moments?
Yes, absolutely. So we got back from India in March. And no, sorry, we went to India in March. We came back in April. And then I was still like, I got to do it. I got to do it. There's so much work. Eventually on Memorial Day, so I believe May 25th, around May 25th or May 25th, I applied for the citizenship. It was pretty straightforward. We did not use a lawyer this time. I just did the paperwork by myself and I uploaded all the documentation as required. I added. The other thing I did was I took pictures. Like, when we had pictures with, say, me and Joe with other people, like family, friends, church people, whoever knew that we were together, I took all those pictures, put it on a Word document, and gave it to the lawyer during the green card. So I did the same thing for my citizenship. So my parents visited. Whatever proof you have to show that you are together, I took all those pictures. So we had so many pictures from my parents visiting and us in the past year. So I took all those pictures, put it in a Word document, sent that. I applied online this time. So I uploaded all my documents online. So proof of living together. So utility bills, bank accounts, proof of your job. So like pay stubs, tax documents. If you're filing tax together jointly, that's very important. Tax transcripts are very important. And just make sure to have all your tax documents in place. That's very important. And then whatever else I had for, like, cards, tax, whoever had given us like any kind of anything that had both our names on it, basically in paper as a gift, a check, a greeting card, whatever. I scanned all of it and I uploaded it. So May 25th, I applied for citizenship. Probably a couple weeks later, I heard back that they're going to reuse my biometrics. So the next step after you apply is biometrics. But because I had already applied to remove conditions on my existing green card, they decided to use the biometrics from the previous application. So I didn't have to go through that step. So that skipped and sorry, that reduced my timeline because they decided to use the biometrics. And then I kept looking at it, and you have like a status on online. If you go to my USCIS case status, and it'll show you a little, what's the timeline, and it kept saying 4 months, 5 months, 7 months, 6 months. It kept moving. But once the biometrics were done, then it moved to the next step. It was just scheduling an interview. So I applied May 25th. August 22nd, 2025, I get the notice for interview for September 24th. September 24th, 8:15 was my interview. Pretty much 4 months. That's it. Like, it took me 4 months from the time of application to get my citizenship, which is commendable, right? Like 4 months to get your citizenship. I know it took 10 years, but there's lots of people who, if they apply through employment based, they don't even get it for, a lifetime. But I'm very blessed to be in this situation. And like I said before, this is just purely my situation. And it just happened to work out in this way. It was not something I planned. It just moved in this direction and I just kept taking action. So September 24th, 15 was my interview. For the interview, you have 100 civics questions. Like, you have to study for this test. They will ask you 10 questions. You got to get 6 right. But if you get 6 right, then they move on to the next step. So for your citizenship, there's an interview where I use this YouTube channel that I will link in the show notes to prepare for my civics test. And Joe would quiz me. He would quiz me all the time. on the questions, and you it's basically learning about the history of the country, the constitution, president, who is your senator, who's the president, the vice president, the speaker. So you got to learn all of that. And then there's also an English reading and writing test. So when I got there, they asked me the questions. You get 6 right, then they move on. I think I got 1 wrong, so they asked me 7 questions and then moved on to the next. And the next question was, they will ask you, they have like a little tablet. They ask you to read off of the tablet. So there's a question, who lived here first? So I had to just read that. And then they'll tell you the answer and you got to write it on the tab. So it's like the native Indians lived here first. So you write all of that and then they move on to the next step. So that is the first part of the interview. Once you're done with that, then the next step is they go through your application. They make sure they check through the application, ask you questions, ask you about the name. If you are married, then name change, no name change, all that stuff. It's basic questions about your application. So you have to know thoroughly what you wrote in your application, make sure it's right, and revise your application before you go into the process itself. Whoever you're applying through, like I was applying as Joe's spouse, so he had to go with me to the interview. So at the interview, he was asked, because my case of removing conditions on my green card was still pending, asked me questions about that as well. So then they asked Joe how we met. Again, the same question, how we met, how long have we been married, if we are living together, all that stuff. And yeah, then I was done. And they said they have same day swearing in, the oath ceremony on the same day. And I was like, yes, I will take it, because my in-laws had traveled from New Hampshire to New Jersey to participate in the oath ceremony. They were, super thrilled and wanted to be a part of it. So I was like, if I can get it on the same day, that will be great. So I ended up having the oath ceremony on the same day. It was like at 2:30 p.m. We just had to watch a couple videos, and then there was like a video from President Trump congratulating us on becoming citizens. There were like, I think we were about 25 of us who became citizens on that day at that location. And then we had to go through the oath. And then, yeah, we were done. We got our certificates after.
How was your emotions during the oath ceremony? Was it pretty exciting?
Yes, it was mixed feelings, definitely mixed feelings, because now it's like, I am giving up my citizenship of India, which I've been an Indian for 28 years. And obviously, I haven't lived there after, but just giving up not your identity, but that's the country you grew up in. So giving up that and then now becoming a citizen of a new country. So it's like mixed feelings. It's also the feeling I definitely felt proud to be in this country. And when I was listening to President Trump's message, it was so beautiful about how this country has freedom of speech, and all the things that we can contribute to, and that now we're part of this family. Definitely mixed emotions. I try to keep it together so I didn't tear up, but it was nice to have my family there. I had a couple friends from church who were there as well, and it just made it more meaningful to have people with me over there, as opposed to just, Joe, Jaden, and me being there. Having everybody there definitely made it more meaningful and special.
So that leads me to the next question. Who and what are you most grateful for in this journey or throughout this journey?
I'm definitely grateful to my parents for instilling faith in me, and the journey of them, how do I say it? Like, raising us in the faith. And even though it was tough for them, I remember my dad worked Sundays too. And so my mom had to bring both my brother and I to church all by herself. And I remember she used to take us walking sometimes, like we walked to church, but no matter what, we didn't skip church. And faith was like a very essential part of my upbringing. And even though like I deviated many times, and um, back home too, there is a time in everybody's faith journey where you're not as strong as you want to be, and then no matter how much you deviate, you will come back. God will call you back to him, and that's how it works. So I did deviate from my faith journey quite a bit, but I also came back. So I just am truly appreciative of my parents for instilling that faith in me from a very young age, which was what brought me back and kept me strong through these 10 years. And even now, it keeps me going. And I'm definitely very, very grateful for my family, my parents, my brother, my sister in law, and Joe for standing by. He literally, he was like, my gosh, there's so much paperwork. You got to do all this to just, you're doing so much to just be here legally. And just the appreciation of, hey, if you're born in the US, you just got to appreciate where you are and be grateful for it, because people coming from another country, they want to be here. They are doing a lot more than just, it's so much of work and paperwork and everything in the process to really become a citizen. So I'm very thankful for his support, and yeah, I'm just grateful for my faith, and I'm grateful for that God orchestrated everything, right from pulling me out of where I was, to bringing me here, to seeing these how these past 10 years have not worked out, orchestrated according to him, because everything flowed in a way that I don't think I could have seen it happen, or my parents could have seen it happen. Like, who would have thought that, I had to travel so much to find my soulmate, right? Like, we didn't even think that I was going to come here and get married. So I'm really grateful for my family, and definitely God.
That's wonderful. So, what message would you share with someone who's still in the middle of their own visa or immigration process right now?
Just remember your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you come here? Why do you want this? If you want this, why do you want it? And if you want it so badly, then what are you willing to sacrifice for it? And I would say, stay strong. Everybody's journey is very different. It's very, very different, employment based, marriage based, H1 based, whatever visa you are on. It's always going to be stressful. It doesn't matter which route you take, it's always going to be stressful. Just because I married a citizen and my process was faster doesn't mean it was any less stressful. Yes, I'm very grateful that my timeline was cut short, that, I had the privilege of having a different process and a faster process, but it doesn't make the stress any less. You are still going to have the same level of stress that you are on any other visa journey. So stay strong, know your why, and reach out and ask questions. Just ask questions, be curious, and keep up, stay up to date. Make sure all your documents are up to date, your passports, whatever documents you need, are essential for your immigration journey. Make sure that they're all up to date, and do as and how the rules change and whatever you're supposed to do, make sure you do that. Reach out to lawyers, and make sure you're always in communication with a lawyer or somebody who knows what you're going through. And definitely lean on your family for support. Do not isolate yourself. The immigration journey can be very isolating in itself. Don't isolate yourself further by creating a distance between your family and yourself. Just reach out, talk, find your community, find your tribe, and keep going.
So wonderful. So, my last question for you is, what does your American dream mean to you now?
Now it definitely means more than what it did 10 years ago. Yes, it is. It still is the same with regard to freedom, with regard to opportunities, but it has changed in the way that I view it as an opportunity to make an impact for others, an opportunity to give back, an opportunity to make my parents proud, and just to be there, to because I walked this path, I want to lean back and extend my hand to others who are going through this journey, and support them in any way that I can, with information, with even a call. If you want to, jump on a call, if you have questions, I'm happy to do so. But more on how can I give back to each and every person who has supported me in these past 10 years. And what is it that I want to do for the rest of my journey here? Now that I'm a US citizen, what is my contribution to the country, to my community, to my family, and what am I going to leave behind for my son?
Wonderful. That's a great way to end off. So, Anisha, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Your journey is such a beautiful reminder that the American dream isn't about where you start. It's about the courage to keep going, even when the path isn't clear.
Absolutely.
Everyone listening, I hope you walk away from this episode inspired by Anisha's faith, patience, and purpose, and reminded that your own dream is worth fighting for. You can learn more about Anisha and her work at JenningsTechCorner.com and follow her journey on Instagram at JenningsTechCorner. Until next time, keep believing, keep building, and keep chasing your American dream.
Amen.